Hey, what's up everyone? Nick here. Welcome back to the Alan Wake Nightmare difficulty walkthrough playthrough, and we are moving on to episode 2. And things are going to start off pretty easy, just like in the first episode of the game. This is more or less how most of the levels begin. You kind of start off either in a flashback or while it's daytime, so you don't have to worry about the darkness and things like that. So it's kind of a nice opportunity to take a breath before things get really bad. And you're going to see in this video just how the kind of steep jump in difficulty that the game takes going from episode 1 to episode 2. Episode 1 is surprisingly easy when you compare it to episode 2, but that will all come in due time. Again, I am very excited to be bringing you guys this walkthrough. So far, the response has been good. The first video got like 50 plus views in a quick amount of time, which, you know, is good for my channel, especially when I cover older games. So it seems like you guys are into it. I'm into it, so should be a pretty damn good time. So go ahead and you're going to have to come in here and comfort Alice, who for some reason is a grown woman that is still afraid of the dark, but one problem at a time. So go ahead and watch kind of the setup cutscene, and I'll join you afterwards.
I know it's stupid, but it's just, especially when I'm not prepared for it, you know? It gets to me.
I love you.
Tell me a story, writer.
Okay. I used to have these nightmares when I was a kid. The dark really spooked me, too. When it got really bad, my mom gave me this old light switch. She called it the clicker.
The clicker, huh?
Yeah. If I ever got scared of the dark, I could just flip the switch and a magic light would scare the monsters away.
Oh, sure.
Here it is.
Alan.
Maybe it'll help you, too.
Yeah, nice story, writer boy. You made that up right now, didn't you?
No. Seriously.
I love you, even if you are a liar. Thanks for this.
How do you feel, Mr. Wake? Any nausea, disorientation, anything like that? Mr. Wake, how are you feeling?
I'm okay. My head's fine. I had to lie about my headache and memory loss. He'd send me to a hospital for tests. I couldn't leave without Alice.
Very well. I don't think you have a concussion, but you've obviously been through quite a shock. You should take it easy for a couple of days.
Thanks.
Well then, Mr. Wake, we're done here. If the pain gets any worse or you experience any
So
other symptoms...
this happened a lot more in the first episode, but I kind of talked about how there's a lot of cutscenes in this game, but they're not very long or anything. This level is going to kind of follow the same pattern as the first level, in the sense that we're going to have a couple cutscenes here at the beginning, but then we're really going to jump into gameplay. Nowhere near the same amount of cutscenes as in the previous level, but still there are going to be a couple here or there. Like I said, they're all pretty short, and you know, like I've said, it's an engaging story. I hope you guys are following along and interested. Here's one more brief one with the sheriff.
The cabin on Cauldron Lake? How did you end up at Stucky's gas station?
I wanted to tell her what had happened last night, but I couldn't. She'd lock me up. Excuse me, I need to take this. Hello?
Alan, please help me.
Alice?
Stop talking to the law. You'll do exactly what I say if you ever want to see your wife again.
Who is this?
Go to the back.
So you're gonna be in the sheriff department, and on the phone is who we believe to be the kidnapper. So at this point, if you haven't been following the story, Alan and Alice they got this cabin on a place called Cauldron Lake, and Alan's kind of stormed out because they were having an argument. Alice ended up kind of getting hurt, and when Alan returned, he saw her in the water, so he dove in after her. He woke up a week later with no memory of any of that, and now he's trying to figure out where the hell his wife is, and so he has the sheriff kind of breathing down his neck because she's also wondering where Carl Stuckey is. Carl Stuckey is the guy that we had to kill in the first level of the game, but of course Alan can't tell her that we killed Carl because then she would arrest us without knowing that some weird shit is going on with the darkness and everything. So Alan's in a bit of a bind. The guy he's talking to on the phone right now, we're about to kind of meet him for the first time in an upcoming cutscene. But just so you know, he is, so Alan's a famous author, and Barry, the guy he was just talking to, Barry is his agent, and he's very, very Hollywood, and you'll see exactly what I mean by that in a couple of seconds. So go ahead and return to the front of the sheriff station. You'll see the sheriff talking to this man. Go ahead and approach them, and that will trigger about a 2-minute cutscene.
Are you feeling any better, Mr. Wake?
I'd like to leave. Am I free to go?
Well, we still need to talk about...
Am I under arrest?
No, of course not. But I need to know where you'll be staying so I can get in touch with you.
I'd avoid the motel. The Majestic is known for its roaches. The cabins at Elderwood are pretty nice, though.
That sounds perfect.
I'm Dr. Emil Hartman. I'd like to invite you to stay at Cauldron Lake Lodge.
Did you talk to my wife?
I had the pleasure of discussing your situation with her on several occasions.
Did you set something up with her?
I invited her here. My clinic is a place where...
Oh!
Hey!
Oh, my!
Take it easy.
Hey, nobody move! Get your hands off of my client!
Who are you?
I'm Barry Wheeler, his agent. If you have business with Mr. Wake, you talk to me. You yokels won't know what hit you once I sick my lawyers on your asses.
No harm done, Sarah. I'm all right. I don't want to press charges. Mr. Wake, my offer still stands.
Get me out of here.
What the hell was that about, Al? We don't need a replay of that thing with the paparazzi. I thought they were gonna lock you up.
I had to talk to someone. I told Barry everything. He thought I was certifiable, but when he heard about the manuscript, I had him. The fact that I'd written something, even if I couldn't remember it, was enough for him. He smelled money. And he believed that Alice had been kidnapped. Anything beyond that was another story. I had a midnight appointment with the kidnapper in a place called Lover's Peak, somewhere in Elderwood National Park. The plan was to rent a cabin.
I don't like it, Al. I don't like any of it. It's not good. In fact, it's the absolute opposite of good.
Mr. Wake! Barry, you found him!
Hi, Rose.
Oh, wow, I was just thinking about you, too.
Great.
I was just bringing Rusty some coffee. He's on the balcony, looking after Max. Poor thing. I really need to go. Great to see you again, Mr. Wake. Later!
Who's Max?
What an airhead.
Cool.
Jeez,
So
Mr.
now
Texas swing
we are so Alan was staying on that place on Cauldron Lake, but obviously when him and the sheriff returned, so that's kind of the mystery here is you know this old woman, this creepy woman, she gave them the keys to the cabin on Cauldron Lake. They went to the cabin, things went bad, Alice went missing, and then when Alan told the sheriff that they were at Cauldron Lake, she said, "Mr. Wake, there's no Cauldron Lake, like the property, it got washed up into the water so many years ago." And Alan's like, "What are you talking about? I was just there." And then they return there, and it is the fact that there is nothing there. There's just a lake. There's no cabin. There's no ridge. There's nothing. So now we have to talk to this guy Rusty, and we have to get a key to a new cabin, since obviously the place we were staying at is no longer available.
Thanks. Can you tell me?
So go ahead and take the key. The characters will always just keep talking even if you leave the room. Like Barry's still talking in here even though I wasn't even in earshot. I thought that was kind of funny. But here we go, one more short cutscene.
That's just crazy talk, Al. Al! Al? We should go to the sheriff or call the FBI.
Damn it, Barry, they'll kill her! This is not a goddamn debate, Barry. I'm going to Lover's Peak. He said to come alone.
Okay then. I understand. You're my best friend, and I'm worried that you're not right in the head. Tell me what to do to help, and I'll do it.
You stay here, and if I'm not back by morning, call the cavalry.
Achoo! Achoo!
So the good news is that that does it for most of the cutscenes in this level. You see, it's not as much as in the first level by far, but there still are a couple to get through. We're not completely out of the woods. There are going to be a couple short ones here and there, and then of course the one at the end of the episode. So that's the good news. The bad news is that episode 2 is significantly more difficult than episode 1 for a number of reasons. The enemies are tougher. Actually, that might be it. The enemies are tougher. No, you know, not only are the enemies tougher, there are more types of enemies. There are typically more enemies. So in the previous level, usually we only had about 3 or 4 guys at a time. In this level, there's going to be quite a bit more. And like I said, there's going to be a mix of enemies. There's some new enemies that get introduced. So there are still the standard guys, and then there's also going to be, I guess, what I would call the big guys or the heavies. You know, every game always has this type of enemy that's just like a stockier enemy, taller, stockier, takes more. In this case, takes more light to kill, and also takes more bullets to kill. And then there's going to be a smaller enemy, kind of like a small skeevy looking guy, and they typically are wearing the same outfit, like a beanie and like a Adidas jumpsuit. And they'll I call them the rushers, because what they do is they're very fast, they're very quick, and they kind of just want to rush you. They don't slowly walk at you, they just rush you. They try to really get in your grill, and they can make things really difficult in a fight because they really draw your attention away from the other enemies. So again, this is all things that we'll be seeing in plenty as the level progresses, but just know that this is going to be a tougher level for sure. Now there's going to be another cabin that you can go in right here. In the previous one, there was some ammo. Of course, on Nightmare Mode, you're going to want to conserve as much ammo and as much batteries as you can. But in this cabin here, there's actually nothing to pick up. I think there is a collectible. There's like a TV. Yeah, so there's a TV right there. Those have to do with the collectibles, which obviously I'm not going for in this walkthrough. Now, one thing I do want to note, you might have watched the first level, you might have watched the first video and been like, wow, Nightmare Mode looks easy. And I will say that based on that video alone, yes, Nightmare Mode is easy in level 1. But it gets significantly harder, as I said, in this chapter. And one thing that really I have to stress is this whole idea of ammo conservation and battery conservation. Because what we're going to see is, along with the new types of enemies, the final boss of this level has this unique mechanic where you'll notice that I talked about it in the first video. The only thing that drains the batteries in the flashlight is if you actually focus the flashlight by holding down the left trigger. If you just aim the flashlight, as I am now, it doesn't drain the battery. It just takes longer to eliminate an enemy. The final boss in this level, you're going to see that you actually you can't damage the darkness possessing him unless you focus the flashlight. You can't just aim it at him. He's kind of immune to the weaker beam. You have to focus the beam. And so that's going to take some battery life because, like I said, that's what drains the battery. So this idea of ammo and battery conservation, those really do affect the outcome of this level, because if you are very good, as you're going to see, I kind of walk you through how to do that, you'll be good at the end. The boss will be no problem, but if you don't focus on that conservation strategy, you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt. So it becomes a very, very important mechanic in this game to conserve as much as you can.
Mr. Wake? Oh, hell. It happened just the way it was on that page. I found. Came true. It knew. So dark. It'll come back for me. You must... The lights. In the office. I have the key.
Okay, Rusty. Hang on. I'll be right back. Whatever did this couldn't be.
Alright, so poor Rusty. It looks like he didn't make it. But don't hold your breath. Maybe we'll be seeing him again shortly. Go ahead and pick up the revolver ammo revolver. I feel like I said that wrong. Revolver. I don't know. Pick up the ammo and go ahead and make your way towards this shed back here. Again, I was talking about how this game is kind of set up like a TV show. They do each level in episodes, and then each level is approximately 50 minutes long, which is the standard length of a primetime TV show without including commercials. And this level is the same. I think this is about 5 minutes longer than the first level. It's 57 minutes because there is just slightly more gameplay. But anyway, go ahead now. We're going to have to return to Rusty, and you're going to see this new thing. There's this black ooze on the ground, which is basically, I guess I would describe it as pure darkness. And it can't jump at you, it can't move, but it can hurt you if you step on it. And the real area where this becomes a threat is if you're trying to run away from enemies. You obviously don't want to step in black goo, because then you're going to get hurt, you're going to get slowed down, and then the enemies are going to catch up to you. Now here we go. Standard fight here, 2 guys, just to kind of get us used to the combat after our brief break from it after episode 1. Again, you'll notice how I'm conserving battery life. I'm not actually focusing the flashlight beam. I'm pretty much just aiming it at them. These standard enemies take 4 shots to put down. Notice that the only time I really actually focus the beam is once they get close to me, because when you focus the beam, they'll actually flinch back and they'll kind of stay there for a couple seconds while they're, because you essentially blinded them. So that's a really good way to put some distance in between you and the enemies, and especially if there's more than one enemy approaching you, what you want to do is focus the beam on one so that he'll stagger backwards, and then focus the beam on the other one, and kind of just flip-flop between the two. Now, once you get out here, go ahead and sprint as fast as you can to the opposite end of this yard, and you're going to see that Rusty, he has now come back. He's possessed by the darkness, so we're going to have to take him out. It's only him to worry about. You don't have to worry about any other enemies yet. Now, Rusty's going to basically run in circles. He is very fast, and I don't know why he does this, but a lot of the times he runs back into the building. And then when he runs back into the building, he'll stay in there a couple seconds, and then he'll run back at you. So again, you see right here, he runs back in the building. Give it a couple seconds, and then he's going to run back out. You want to use that to your advantage, because he moves very quickly. So every time he runs in the building, that means you know he's going to come back through this doorway, so you automatically know where to aim that flashlight. So it kind of makes things easier on you. I don't know why he does that. This is actually a really easy boss fight. You're just going to try to focus. You're just going to try to, keep him in the center of your frame at all times. Slowly but surely weaken his ring. You'll see I'm getting pretty close here. He's going to come through one more time. His ring is very small. Go ahead and focus that last bit of light. 3, 4, 5, 6. He does take quite a few shots to put down. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Still up. I think 14 it takes. Oh, nope, 15, 16. Okay, so he takes a total of 16 shots to put down. That's a lot. And then, to make things worse, 2 more guys are going to emerge. Luckily, they each only take 4 shots to put down. These are the standard enemies, and you can see I'm doing exactly what I talked about earlier. I'm kind of focusing on one, shooting him, and then I'll focus on the other guy. Notice how, again, they like to throw things, so you have to be ready to dodge those items at a moment's notice. And now both of their light has been eliminated, so we're able to put them down. But guys, I'm telling you, like, this is such a good game, and it's all because of this mechanic. It's not your standard shooter. The idea that you have to completely rid the vessel of darkness before you can actually kill it, it's an amazing concept, and it works so well. They really executed this game beautifully. The mechanics are so smooth. They are so fun. They're kind of addicting. It's just overall, it's an absolutely fantastic game in pretty much every regard. I don't think I have anything bad to say about this game, other than that there was no sequel. Truly just a fantastic game. And, I'll be honest, with most games that I've played, I'm a very sentimental person, and I typically will remember when I first played a game and kind of like why or how I first came into contact with that game. Like, I can remember the first time I played Resident Evil 4. I can remember the first time I played Uncharted. For some reason, I can't remember why I bought this game. Because this game, it was kind of just a stab in the dark. At least for me at the time, I had never heard of the developers. I had never heard of this game until it came out. I had no idea. And I don't know what it was that prompted me to pick this game up. Maybe someone bought it for my birthday. Maybe it was on sale. I honestly cannot remember what caused me to first play this game. But God, I am so glad I did. So glad I did. Now, right there, you'll notice a cut in the video. I'll try to always point out when I have to make a cut like that. That was because you'll get a checkpoint right there. That's always where I cut my videos, when I get checkpoints. And after the checkpoint, you're going to want to go through here, through this cave, and you can actually find a shotgun inside. Again, I don't think I actually end up using this shotgun, but it's still nice to have just in case. But the point is, after you leave the cave, there's going to be a couple enemies to fight, and I think I did die on my first attempt, so that's, hence the cut in the video. And that's how I like to do things. That's, to me, that's what a walkthrough is. I'm not going to get into it. I've complained about it in so many other videos, but so many people now misuse the term walkthrough. I can't count how many times you can go on YouTube and look up a walkthrough for something, and it's just some guy stuck on a puzzle dying over and over again. No, that is not a walkthrough. A walkthrough is a short, concise playthrough of a game which only shows you exactly what you need to do to beat the game and nothing else. Now right here, you're going to just sprint past this guy, and that's because two guys are going to spawn behind you. So you don't want to ever have an enemy behind you. That is hard to fight in this game. So instead, what you want to do is just sprint past the first guy and then get onto this bridge here. And now you can kind of just aim down the sights and go to work. I don't know how that hit me. I call bullshit on that one. But the point is, by putting yourself on this bridge, you have now created only one path for the enemies to get to you. So automatically, you're in a safer position. And then, of course, the fact that no enemies are behind me. That's kind of the real lifesaver of this section. I did take some damage here, and you're going to see this is by no means a perfect playthrough of the game. In this level, there are going to be some areas where you take damage. This is a hard level. And again, my job here is I'm not making a no damage walkthrough. I'm just making a walkthrough with the best strategies that I can come up with, and if I take damage along the way, so be it. Maybe you'll be better than me. But yeah, I'm not making a no damage walkthrough or anything like that. But anyway, now we are in the forest area. Our objective is to reach Lover's Peak. And I'm going to cut through the middle here. And you're about to see me encounter a new type of enemy. So this is the first new type of enemy I was talking about. These are the heavies, or the big guys, I guess you could call them. And you're going to see right here, there's the cut in the video because I did die here a number of times. So right here, he's going to emerge from this giant tree. I'm just going to run past him. I'm going to turn around. You'll see that he's chasing me. I'm going to stun him with my flashlight. There's a couple little guys with him. And at this point, you'll notice how I'm walking backwards. And this is not very easy to do, but it is doable. And so now I'm going to turn around, make a run for it. Again, stun them as much as I can. And now get ready. Check this out. I'm going to stun him one last time. I'm going to stun his little friends right there. So here we go. Get ready. Stun, stun, stun. Turn around and immediately run for this generator here and get that thing started as fast as you can. You can see right there, I even messed up once, and boom, I was able to turn it on in the nick of time. But when you turn on the generator, not only will you get a checkpoint, but you will no longer have to worry about those enemies unless you go back to that location. So you can see that because I moved forward, the enemies are no longer chasing me. If I decided to backtrack, they would still spawn. So the enemies are not gone forever. But once you turn on that light, they will not chase you through the light. So that's a really easy way to get through that fight against the big guy. And now I'm actually going to use that same exact running strategy to get past an even harder section. So check this out. You're going to walk down this path here and you're going to take a right and you're going to go up this trail here through these trees. And you're going to notice that once you get far enough, another big guy will spawn and a bunch of little guys. And what you're going to do is actually just jump over this fence here. You'll drop down a small cliff and then just go ahead and run towards the light. And that's it. Now, it's kind of crazy because if you just watched me do that, it looked like the easiest thing in the world. But that fight, it actually took me like 10 times to figure that out because that path is not an obvious path. And usually, you know, what the game expects you to do is to confront those enemies head on. And that is a very tough fight because there's a big guy, there's a couple of the fast guys. It's a really tough fight. And so I'm actually really proud of that strategy I found right there where you can just take that path up to the right and there's that fence there. And, you know, the game leads you to believe that that fence is the natural barrier. The game wants you to think that the fence means you can't go this way. But to that I say, hell no. I decided to just jump over the fence, save myself a whole lot of heartache, and pretty much completely bypass that fight. And again, you know, this all goes with the idea, I talked about it in the first video, that this game has a lot of survival horror elements. The only reason I don't want to call it a survival horror is because it's not actually scary. It does have some creepy moments, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't call it a horror game. I would call it more of a survival action game, I guess would be the best definition. And one of the key things of a survival horror game is to conserve ammo and to choose your fights wisely.
Come on, we gotta get moving. More of them coming. That flashlight's kid stuff. The flares will keep the bastards away. We gotta move. Why?
Alright guys, so we come now to one of my least favorite moments of the game. Definitely my least favorite part of the level. This is an area, I just don't like this part. Basically, you meet up with the kidnapper here, and you have a couple flares, you have your flashlight, but you do not have a gun. And so every enemy that you encounter in this location, you're going to have to let him kill them. And that is very hard to do. It sounds like it would be easier, but trust me, it's not. So what you're going to do right away is just run past these two guys. So you'll notice I did get hit once, that's okay. I got hit twice, actually. I was not very happy, so you'll notice I started to panic, so that's why I popped a flare. Anytime you pop a flare, that will get the enemies to run away from you and kind of buy you some time to heal and gather your nerves before you engage back into the fight. But anyway, now you're going to notice that I kind of backed up against this blocked gate right here, and this is where I'm going to kind of make my stand. So again, right there, you see I took some damage, I panicked, so that's why I popped a flare. And yeah, but you can see how basically your job here is to eliminate the darkness from these guys. Once the darkness is gone, then the kidnapper here will be able to shoot them with the gun and finish the job. Unfortunately, the kidnapper is the dumbest AI I've ever encountered. He misses a lot of shots. Sometimes there will be two enemies. Say there's two enemies. One is really close to you and one is far away. Sometimes he'll shoot at the one that's far away, and he won't kill the one that's close, and then you're just kind of screwed. So the reason I don't like this section is because you just don't really have control. You're basically reliant on this on this AI, and when the AI is not very good, that just kind of puts you in a crappy position. Now, the good news is you do have flares, and you have a fair amount of them. So, basically, the way the flares work, you can imagine you pop a flare, you can either hold on to it, or you can just drop it. And for me, I don't really use the flares as a weapon. I use them more as of a defense mechanism. Once the enemies start to get really close to me and I start to panic, that's when I'll usually pop a flare. That being said, though, so in this part here, he's unlocking the gate, so he's not actually going to shoot these guys anyway. But in an area where he is shooting them, the reason the flare comes in handy is because the flare will really help eliminate the darkness from them. And so what you can do is you can kind of let the enemies get close to you, pop a flare at the last second, and then that will eliminate a lot of the darkness, making the kidnapper's job easier, because then he'll just start shooting them. But anyway, eventually he'll get that gate open, just run up here to the lights, and you are momentarily in the clear. The enemies will not chase you up here, so you don't have to worry about them anymore. Unfortunately, we are not out of this yet. So you can see this giant heart right here. We have now reached Lover's Peak, and this is where we're going to have to make another kind of final stand. And this one is really hard. Luckily, you are going to get more flares, so right here you can get some more. The one piece of advice I can give you is do not treat the flares like batteries and ammo. You do not need to worry about conserving your flares as much as you do the other resources. The flares are basically going to be your best friend here, so it's really important to use them. That's what they're for. You're supposed to use them here. So definitely don't be shy about using them. Now, one thing I like to do is I don't like, when I pop a flare, I don't like to keep it in my hand and walk around with it, because it makes Alan move slower, and it just kind of feels like a waste of time. What I like to do instead is I like to drop the flare and then kind of run around, and that's because once you drop that flare, you basically are buying yourself some time before the enemies can get near you again. So you can use that time to, put some distance in between you and the enemy, to look around for more supplies, anything like that. That's why I like to drop the flares instead of walk around with them. Once you take out all the enemies coming at you head on, there's going to be a couple guys that approach you from the sides. So you'll see this guy here just climbs over the railing, and then this guy's going to drop down from those rocks. Notice how, again, I popped a flare and I dropped it. I didn't walk around with it. Now right there, I basically used back-to-back flares because the enemies are just really close and you don't have as much wiggle room here. But seriously, like, this AI is just terrible. He's a terrible shot. He's an idiot. He doesn't know what enemy to prioritize shooting. Like, look at this. He's shooting the guy that's far away, and there's an enemy right behind him. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I really don't like this section. It's not terrible, it's just not a lot of fun. Anyway, two more guys are going to drop down from the rocks here. Another guy is going to climb over the ledge, and to make things worse, there's going to be a heavy. And so, how in the world are we going to do this? Well, you guessed it, we're going to utilize our flares. Again, the thing that sucks here, like I said, you don't have any control over what enemies this guy is shooting at. If at all possible, you want to get him to kill the little guys before he kills the big guy, because the little guys go down faster, and they'll make your life easier in the end when they're not there. Because one big guy on its own is really not that much of a challenge. It's only when you throw him in with a bunch of little guys that he really becomes a pain in the ass. And so right there, I had to use my last flare, because again, this idiot, he's not shooting this guy. Like, look at this little guy right here. He's just not shooting him. Finally, he gets him. And now we can focus our efforts on the heavy. And like I said, as soon as the heavy is by itself, it's really not that hard. He'll charge at you, you just run out of the way, run away, put some distance in between you and him, keep the light on him, and there you go. So once you get down to the big guy, it's really not that challenging. It's only those little guys that make it pretty difficult. But anyway, after he kills him, that will trigger a cutscene.
Let's cut the act now. Where's my wife?
I knew you were going to say that. I read it all before. You're a hell of a writer. Congratulations. You're going to bring about something glorious and terrible once we get you some proper editorial control.
What the hell are you talking about? Where's Alice?
I want the entire manuscript, or she's gonna suffer bad.
You touch her and I'll...
Alright guys, so now that's probably the worst part of this level, in all honesty. And it's funny because, you know, you would think it would be one of the easier parts of the level, because as soon as I tell you you don't have to kill anyone, you would think, oh, okay, that's going to be an easy section. But then when you find out that it's the computer that has to kill everyone, that's what makes it pretty tough. Now anyway, we are kind of in the final stretch here, so the rest of this video is going to be all gameplay, at least until the very end when we have our ending cutscene. So I'm going to show you some cool tricks to get through these next couple of fights, because this is where ammo conservation really, really matters, because you're going to want to save as much ammo as you can for the end of this part here. So anyway, you're going to see this guy off in the distance, right over there, and the game wants you to follow him. However, you'll notice on the ground there's something glowing, and it turns out that that thing is a bear trap. And so what happens is, instead, you're going to want to go to the right, and you're going to want to basically stick as far to the right as you can here. So check this out. I'm just going to stay on the far right side of the map, on the very edge. I'm going to go behind all these rocks, behind all these trees, and I'm basically going to bypass this entire section. And it truly is a thing of beauty, because I'll tell you, what would happen otherwise is the game wants you to run straight into the mess of things. You know, the game wants you to run straight through the middle of the forest. And when that happens, you will get attacked by enemies, and there are going to be a ton of bear traps lying around. And so you can imagine that as you're running away from the enemies trying to kill them, you're going to get caught in a bear trap or two. But by doing what I'm doing here and sticking to the complete right side of this map and then jumping over that rock right there, you'll see that I get to my objective without a care in the world. I was amazed that I was able to do that. I did not have to kill a single person there. I didn't even see anybody. I didn't have to dodge any bear traps. So definitely a smart approach. Kind of going to do something similar here. I'm going to stick to the left side of this map. So you'll see a cut in the video right there, because I did die a couple times trying to figure out this strategy. But what you're going to do is creep on the left side. Now in this part you are going to have to kill a couple guys. So right here, and you're gonna see this is kind of your first good view of the fast guys. So they're wearing beanies and jumpsuits, like athletic jumpsuits. They only take 2 shots to kill, but they are very fast, and that's what makes them very dangerous, because you have to worry so hard. You have to worry so much about dodging them that they kind of distract you, and then that allows the other enemies to kind of get the jump on you. So it can be pretty tough. But anyway, right here, we're going to do another tricky little thing. You're going to see this log off in the distance that serves as a ramp to get up to our next objective. And you're just going to run up this as fast as you can. You're not going to worry about killing anyone. You're not going to worry about any enemies behind you, because you're going to see right here someone does spawn behind me. I'm not even going to worry about him. I'm just going to run up this branch or this log as fast as I can. You'll see there's a generator. I'm going to get to the generator. I'm going to pop my flare to buy me a couple seconds. And then with that time I just bought, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the generator. And there you go. And you'll see that actually worked perfectly. Some idiot spawned right behind me, and the light just killed him immediately. But yeah, so easy way to get through that part. And again, you'll notice I have yet to use... Oh, no, wait. I did use a couple bullets, but I've definitely saved a lot with all of the enemies that I bypassed. Now, this guy here, he kind of came out of nowhere, so you are going to have to... every once in a while that might happen. You always got to kind of be on your toes with this game, which makes it that much more exciting. But anyway, the reason I'm focusing so much right now on bypassing fights where I can is because at the end of this level, you're going to have to fight 3 heavies and I don't know what you would call it, I guess immune heavy, and those are the really tough guys. So ammo conservation is really, really important here. Now you're going to drop down, and you're going to see this little prompt to focus on something. So you're going to see I'm going to go to the left, and then I forgot there's a crashed airplane over here. And in fact, if you go over here, we're going to be able to pick up a couple flares. And if you haven't been able to guess already, flares are just an invaluable resource in this game. They truly are lifesavers in a lot of areas. And the thing that I love about the flares is they can be used aggressively or defensively. So you know, if you're trying to, if you got a couple enemies surrounding you and you need to buy yourself some room and eliminate their darkness quickly, you pop a flare. However, if you are trying to turn on a generator, or if you're trying to make a run for a lantern or something, or not a lantern, a street light, what you can do is pop a flare behind you and then just run. And the enemies, you know, you'll buy yourself some time because the enemies will be flinching away from the flares. So the flares are just such a fantastic resource. You'll see there's another one right here. So you can automatically get that one that's just lying on the path, but if you take the time to explore over by that plane, you can pick up another 2. Now I'm going to kind of do the same thing here. I'm just going to stay to the right side of the woods. And you're going to see this guy spawns in front of me, and now I'm going to get ready to make a run for it. So check this out. Little sloppy right there, sure. But this is where exactly, you know, I'm going to use my flares to just make a run for it. So here we go. The enemies are caught in that first flare. I'm going to keep running right through the center of the forest here. The enemies got behind me, so there goes the second flare. I'm going to hold on to it for a couple seconds, then drop it. And then when I drop it, I'm going to use that time to make a run for it. Now, right there, I got caught on those rocks, which was unfortunate. Well, here we go. Same thing. All you got to do is cross this little bridge, and that's it. Unfortunately, this guy somehow was blocking my path, and I started to get really upset. Luckily, I was able to get around him right there. So, a little sloppy, sure, but the overall theme of that strategy should be clear. Just use those flares, and I mean, I would reckon that there was about 8 enemies in total right there. Which, if you consider the fact that one standard enemy takes 4 shots to put down, that's 32 rounds from the pistol to get through that section. Again, these are all estimations. I don't know if there's exactly 8 enemies. But the point is, I only have 36 bullets. So, you know, by just bypassing that fight, I was able to save a lot of ammunition. And like I said, that's about to come in handy during the final fights. Now there is going to be some of this black stuff in here, so make sure you use the flashlight to get rid of it. And you can see your objective here is just to reach the top of the mill. Shouldn't be too difficult. Just keep an eye out for the black ooze. And then in here, there's actually nothing you need to collect. There is a manuscript page out here, which I was just taking the time to explore. I don't actually need it or anything. But there is going to be some flares you want to pick up in a couple seconds. So go ahead and go up to the 3rd floor and kick this counterweight down. And that's gonna raise a little elevator, which will allow you to cross this gap. Now, inside of this room, there's going to be the 2 flares I mentioned. On my first playthrough, there was an enemy that actually attacked me inside of the mill. And then on this playthrough, that didn't happen. So just be ready, I guess I would say. Just, you know, if an enemy happens to come out of nowhere, just be ready to take them out. Make sure your gun's loaded. You know, make sure you have full battery, anything like that. I don't know why the enemy didn't appear right now. I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to be thankful. I will tell you, though, that it was only a standard enemy, so it's nothing to worry about. All right, and now this is where we kind of go into the final stretch of things. This is where it gets tough, and this is why I suggested holding onto as much ammo as you can. So there's a cut in the video there because I did die once against the big guy here. So I'm going to use my flare to eliminate his darkness faster. So you'll see that's exactly what that's doing there. I just took out a lot of it, and now I'm going to finish the job with my flashlight. I'm going to switch to the hunting rifle that I picked up earlier, and it will take 2 shots from the hunting rifle to put this big boy down. And there you go, that's 1. So yeah, hunting rifle, incredibly effective weapon. And there's some ammo for it in here, so make sure you pick that up because that's going to come in handy very, very quickly. So right there, we only had to kill one heavy. Not too bad. Pretty simple. Right here, you're going to have to kill 2 at the same time. Now, what works in your favor here is that they start off pretty far away from you, so it kind of buys you a lot of time to use your flashlight before they're able to get too close. So what's going to happen is you're going to walk up this hill, and they're going to kick a bunch of stuff down at you. So logs and pieces of wood. Make sure you dodge those barrels and whatnot because those can actually hurt you. And now, here they come. So here's one, here's two, and like I said, you're going to want to use your flashlight as much as you can here. You know, use it until they get too close, and then you'll notice how I'm backing up, and that's because there are those logs on the ground. I'm actually going to try to use those logs to slow their pace, because I don't know if they can't, okay, never mind, they can't jump over the logs, so that's, never mind on that, but anyway, they got really close, so I decided to use my flare. Now I'm going to finish off the light on this first guy. Go ahead and stun the second guy. He's over there. 2 shots. And there we go. He's dead. Now there's only one guy left to worry about. And like I said, when it's only one big guy, it's really not that hard. You just run out of their way. Here we go. 2 shots from the hunting rifle. And voila. Now there is only one more big guy to worry about, and this fight can be pretty tough. He takes 3 shots to put down, but that's not what makes it hard. The thing that makes it hard is that he has this unique mechanic where in order to weaken the darkness possessing him, you actually have to focus the flashlight. You can't just aim it at him. You have to focus it in order to actually do damage. So that means you are going to have to use some batteries. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but so far I've made it all the way to this point without ever having to fill up a battery, which is kind of impressive, I think. But in this case, that's not gonna hold. So get ready. Equip your pistol first, because there are going to be a couple little guys, and you're going to want to eliminate them before the big guy, because that'll make it easier in the long run. So here's the big guy. You'll see he has a chainsaw. Now here comes the little guy, so immediately try to take out the little guys as fast as you can. They're the fast ones, so luckily they only take 2 shots to put down. And there we go. Cool. Now we can focus all our effort on the big guy. And you can see exactly what I'm talking about. You can see how the ring around him is gold instead of silver. And what that means is that you can't actually just aim the light at him. You need to focus it. So you'll see here I'm focusing. Now I'm not focusing, and it's not doing any damage. So pretty unique mechanic. And now you'll notice I'm just going to start filling up batteries. I had freaking 19 of them, so it was really no problem. 3 shots with the hunting rifle. And there we go. Boss fight bypassed. Or not bypassed, but boss fight made easy. And all of that came from, you know, intelligently conserving ammunition, conserving batteries. You can imagine, had I gone into that fight with only 1 or 2 batteries and only like 1 shot on the hunting rifle, I still probably could have gotten through it, but it would have been a bit harder. So, you know, it's all about that conservation.
Stay out of sight. I'm on my way. Don't open
It's funny because in physics, one of the most important laws that we use in physics is this idea of conservation. There's conservation of energy, conservation of momentum, conservation of angular momentum, all sorts of things like that. Conservation of probability, conservation of charge. I won't go into the actual physics of it, but the point is, it's a thing in physics that is very important. And in this, I'm sitting, and in a lot of survival horror games that I play, I always I say that the most important thing is conserving stuff. So this whole act of conservation, and obviously it's not the same context, but I don't know. I think it's funny that essentially this whole idea of conservation rules both aspects of my life, physics and video games. But yeah, so anyway, you're going to go ahead and go into this back bathroom here to get the keys. There is going to be one enemy that ambushes you. Really doesn't turn into a problem as long as you're expecting it. But, yeah, so you see here I'm going to exit, and he's going to pop out of one of the stalls. He's probably angry because he was just trying to take a shit, and, you know, we come in here acting like we own the damn place. We probably just stole his car keys. Those were probably his keys. So, you know, I can't blame him. I'd be mad too if some guy just popped in and interrupted my bathroom time and tried to steal my car while he was at it. I don't blame him. I don't blame that guy at all. Alan Wake is actually the bad guy in that situation. So, shame on you, Alan. All right. So, right there, whoops, I didn't edit that out. I paused the game because I stopped recording for a couple seconds. I had to do something. But anyway, now we get into the truck, and this is a part that is just kind of just for fun. You don't actually have to worry about dying here. You don't have to worry about even using your headlights. You just basically have to drive. That's essentially it. It's a really simple section. I guess the hardest part is maybe getting lost because there's all this fog in the air. But you basically just have to follow the main road, and then anytime there's an obstruction in the road, you just kind of go around it. Now you're going to see this guy here. I backed up and then ran him over, and he got stuck under my truck. Check this out. He got like latched on. So screw that guy. Those big guys have given us enough problems, so I think he's earned that. Anyway, now go ahead and make your way up this winding road here, and we are almost done. We are basically done with gun combat in this level, for the most part, or at least we're done with fighting regular enemies. I'll put it that way. We do have one more enemy to fight, but it's another kind of unenjoyable section. I don't really think there's any foolproof strategy to get through it. It's just something you got to kind of do. It's not a lot of fun. It's not overly difficult. It's just, I guess it's more annoying than anything. But before you get there, go ahead and approach this trunk. There's some flare gun stuff, and that's actually going to come in handy against this fight. So what's going to happen is a couple enemies are about to jump me, and you're actually going to just bypass them. You're going to run right past them and get to that light up ahead, and that will allow you to save your flare gun. So I'm going to go ahead and stun all three of them, and then just make a run for the light. You know, that's kind of an instance where the game expects you to use a flare gun to kill those three guys in one shot, but I say no, let's play smarter than that.
It was the kidnapper.
So that's exactly what I'm going to do, and now I'm going to make my way up the road back to the cabin where Barry's at, and that's going to trigger the final fight, and then that's going to trigger the end of the level. Now, in the first video, I talked about how the collectible in this game are the pages of the manuscript, and this game actually did something interesting where they made a handful of the manuscripts only available on the hardest difficulty. So that means I actually do not have the achievement for getting all collectibles because I've never beaten this game on Nightmare mode. So I was never able to get all of the collectibles. And so in this playthrough, I'm also going to be getting all of the Nightmare pages that I have left. So I didn't get any in the first level because I already had them all from years ago. But this one right here, this is actually a Nightmare page. And so you're going to see, I'm going to show you real quick. These are all the pages, and you'll see how that page has a weird symbol next to it. That is the Nightmare symbol, which basically means you can only find that page in Nightmare mode. So the cool news is, once I beat this playthrough, I should get 100% of the achievements, because once I beat this, I'll have gotten the achievement for all collectibles, I'll have gotten the achievement for beating the game on hard, and I'll have the achievement for beating the game on Nightmare. And then the only achievements left will be related to the DLC, which, you know, those are... We'll save that for another walkthrough. So anyway, here we go. This is the final fight against the birds. Yes, you heard me right. We really have to fight possessed birds here. And you're going to want to pick up those flare gun ammunitions in that trunk right there. Now, like I said, this fight is just kind of hard. I don't think there's a lot of strategy here. It's just, you just got to get through it. It takes kind of a while. It takes about 3 or 4 minutes. And it's kind of hard because the birds move very quickly, and it's not always easy to tell what direction they're coming from. So really what you want to listen for is the noise they make when they're about to charge you. So you see right there, that giant flock just rushed me. Here comes another one. But basically, before a giant flock rushes you, you'll always hear this noise. And when you hear that noise, you can kind of dodge out of the way and save yourself a lot of damage. Another useful thing is right when you hear that noise, you might want to... So right there, you see, right when I heard the noise, I popped a flare, and all of the birds that were flying at me took a lot of damage. Now, one last thing that can help here is the flare gun ammunition. So that's why I recommended saving it instead of using it on the regular guys, because you can see how these birds kind of all flock together. So if you can shoot a flare gun right in the heart of all the birds, you can actually potentially explode them all in one shot, and that's what I'm going to start trying to do here. Now, it's easier said than done, but it is possible. But yeah, so this fight, ultimately, it's just more annoying than anything. It kind of takes a while. Right there, exactly what I'm talking about. I just shot a flare gun right in the center of that flock of birds, and I killed them all. you're going to see that that doesn't always work, because there come times later on where I shoot the flare gun, but I don't really hit the center of the birds. I kind of hit like the front end of the birds, and I end up not really killing that many. So you do still have to worry about being accurate with the flare gun. You don't want to waste ammo. So right there, that was one that I probably should have planned a better shot. I kind of, same one with this. I shot that one kind of foolishly. I should have saved it. And you'll notice now I'm down to 1 flare, which I don't care for. Make that no flares. But we are whittling down all these birds, so things should work out in the end. You're going to see I do take a little bit of damage right here. That group got me pretty good, and right there you see what I'm talking about. I shot that flare, and I kind of shot it at the front of the pack, and I only killed a couple instead of killing all of them, and that's going to, you know, that's going to hurt me later on, because you're going to see right here I'm about to get charged by like 3 different flocks of birds. And I am going to take some damage, but I mean, you can kind of see here, it's challenging, sure, and it is annoying, but it's not that difficult. It's just something you kind of got to grit your teeth and get through. And the good thing is you do get a checkpoint right before all this, so even if you die, and you can see the birds don't even do that much damage. Like, I just took 3 straight hits there, and I still have like 50% health, so not the end of the world. Just, you know, at this point, I'm going to finish off the job with my flashlight. Takes a little longer, but still gets the job done. Don't worry about conserving batteries anymore. You can just use those things up like crazy if you have to, because you're not going to have them at the start of Chapter 3, so it's not that big of a deal. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed Episode 2 of my Nightmare playthrough for Alan Wake. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I hope you're enjoying this walkthrough, especially as much as I am making it. Go ahead and watch the ending cutscene, and I'll join you at the very end for the final sign-off of the video. The cabin will now open, and congrats, you're done with the level.
I sent Barry to the town to ask around about a man fitting the kidnapper's description. He'd go through the archives of the local paper. Perhaps he could learn something. Anything about the island and the cabin that had disappeared. The man wanted a manuscript. I had to try to write him one to get Alice back. For me, the supernatural had always been nothing but a metaphor for the human psyche, a tool to use in writing fiction. Now, it was happening for real, and I couldn't put a single word on paper.
Barry Wheeler speaking.
This is Rose.
Rose?
I found Mr. Wake's pages.
Oh, you sweet, brilliant girl.
Could you and Mr. Wake come get them? I live in the trailer park outside the town.
We'll be there in less than an hour.
Bye now.
See you soon.
Have a great day. Hope you come back soon. Welcome to the old dear diner.
Good girl.
And that'll do it for episode 2, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I love this game. I hope you love this walkthrough playthrough. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Alan Wake is a short game. We're already 1/3 of the way through. There's only 6 episodes, so, you know, it'll be a short ride, but it will be a fun ride. I promise you that. Alright, guys. Thank you for watching. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way. This video's coming out on Thanksgiving, and I'll see you in episode 3.